The first, again, is just to thank you all and congratulate you. Spending an hour and a half to nerd out with us is not everyone's cup of tea. But I'm so glad that you found it interesting, empowering, fun. That was the intention of it. And I'm really happy that, so I asked this question when I do an event called Transition to Tech, and it's specifically geared towards women, trans, non-binary people who are interested in hearing anecdotes from people who have transitioned into tech. And I always ask the first thing is, what kind of associations do you have when I say coding or full stack development? And often it's guys, nerds, math, science, bro culture. So I'm not seeing these words pop up. And that's part of the intention of this, is to dispel all the myths, because it is fun, it is empowering, and you're doing it, you're done. No, and I hope you showcase this all. Whoever comes to the masterclass, and I'll talk about that, you're going to get a certificate, and I want you to boast to the world that you've completed a 3-day coding challenge. You've built something using HTML, CSS, and after today, you'll be using Bootstrap. This is the fundamentals of coding. So your story is now important because you're going to dispel a lot of myths that other people have that have been marginalized to tech, that are scared to pursue it. So thanks for being there. This is the last day. You made it. Congratulations. This is the first time we did it. Fill out those surveys. Let us know what we could be doing differently. Obviously, there's a lot more to learn with coding, right? There's actually JavaScript, right? And so I don't know if Sophia's talked about that, but that's actually, learning how to make buttons do certain things, right? And build out the functionality of your website. So we could do potentially another 3-day coding challenge where it's all JavaScript based. Let us know. Let us know what you want what to learn. For sure, if you attend the masterclass tomorrow, and so anyone who's made it to this 3rd day, you're invited to come to the masterclass happening next week. And in that, what's going down? So Ruth shared with you the first day, just to remind everyone, I will be there, but we'll have this grand finale with our lead full stack instructor at CodeUp, Germinal, who has taught Sophia. Germinal has been a full stack engineer for over a decade, and he's incredibly passionate about teaching. He loves lecturing, maybe a little bit too much for a boot camp. He loves talking. He's very passionate about his trade, which he sees as an art. He also very much loves design. He studied product. And so aside from teaching full stack development, he also does full stack development on the side for a company specializing in data visualization. So he builds very interesting data visualizations for, very big NGOs like World Bank, as well as governments. So he's going to be there. And he's going to be doing a 20-minute lecture with you all. And the intention is to see him in real time code something and to talk about it and to nerd out, to show you sort of what the next level is. The really cool thing about coding knowledge is that it's cumulative, right? So the knowledge builds on top of itself. So once you know HTML and CSS, you can see how he's going to use that to build something even more robust, dynamic, and beautiful. And here it's just to sort of tease you at, like, the world is your oyster right now, and there's so much more to learn. So you'll get this 20-minute flash lecture with our nerdy, very experienced senior instructor. And then we want you to have the opportunity to speak to someone who has transitioned into tech. So someone who was just like you. They went on to further their education through the bootcamp, and now they're working in tech. So you can ask them questions about the job, what tools they're using, doubts, what it's like to work in tech. It's up to you. And then finally, we'll announce the winners. And so the idea here, and we need you for this, is that after you complete the 3rd day of the challenge, we want you to obviously share your work on the community Slack channel that you're all part of. And then by the end of Sunday, we want you to share your favorite 5 websites through the link, the code pens, on the general channel. And there you'll be selecting your top 3. Everyone selects their top 3 and you vote through the heart emoticon. We'll send you an email that will reiterate all of this so you don't have to remember everything. Also, this is recorded. But the idea is we want you to vote on the top 3 coolest websites that have been built during these last 3 days. The winners, so we'll choose 3 winners. And the winners will get prizes. What are those prizes? It's an hour session with your choice. You can have an hour private one-on-one session with our lead full stack engineer, who can do a one-on-one code review with you. If you have any questions, if you're working on a side project and you want feedback, you have 1 hour with Germinal. Or you have 1 hour with our career coach, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie was a software engineer. And now she is our career coach. And so she advises a lot of people who go through the boot camps, people who are working in tech, who want to grow, who want to change careers. It's up to you how you want to use Anne-Marie. Or you can talk to me. What about me? I don't know, but it could be interesting. I'd love to meet you. Certainly, I can share with you my experience in starting a company, transitioning into tech, which I've done. I worked as a data scientist, so I can share with you that experience. I studied data science in a graduate program, so if you're interested in going to that route, I can talk to you. If you just want to network, you can also choose me. No offense if you don't, but I'm here for you if you want to talk. So those are the prizes. And I think that more or less is it. Yeah, I think that's it. So here is, I'm going to share it now. It will also come to you by way of email. Please don't forget to sign up and register for the masterclass. You can do that here. It's on Eventbrite. And again, this is for people that have done the 3-day challenge. And we need you to show up in person for this masterclass. Okay. Done. Thank you. Beautiful. Great job, everyone. I'm excited to see the next iteration of your websites. Have a great last day.
Thanks, Katrina. Honestly, I wouldn't miss this masterclass for nothing. So do sign up. It's going to be quite cool. And yes, Germinal was my instructor, and I guess I took from him a bit of this passion when we talk about code. I mean, the nerdiness was here. It was just someone who helped me like bring it to life. So yes, I hope you sign up and enjoy. Cool. Now, moving on to our last day of the 3-day coding challenge. We're going to do, again, a quick recap from the last class. And as I mentioned before, we're going to learn today about Bootstrap. I will explain what is Bootstrap, how to add Bootstrap in a project. Although I did saw that some of you already used Bootstrap. I checked on one of the projects that you shared. Really nice. We're going to talk about Bootstrap utilities and how to create an element with Bootstrap. And obviously, this would be a hands-on, so I'm going to do some, and you can add to your project as well. Finally, I'm going to do some code review. If you have any questions, if you want to go through your code, please ask me, okay? So let's talk about Bootstrap. And honestly, to talk about Bootstrap, I'm going to just give an introduction, and I'm going to go to their website because they do have a really good documentation. Bootstrap actually was created first. I'm going to show you the link. This getbootstrap.com. Bootstrap was created to build fast, responsive websites. Initially, Bootstrap was developed by Twitter, and with the purpose of having dynamic, like responsive platforms. So Twitter realized that most of the user interaction will go onto smaller screens, like mobile devices. And we will move on a bit from large screens like desktops and so on. It's not that we stop using, but we do use our mobiles a lot more. So they developed something, and they developed like this collection, this pack of styles and CSS that takes into consideration mobile first. Every time you are developing, if we're using Bootstrap, Bootstrap was thought to first work on smaller screens like mobiles. And you do have the options to change this to larger screens, obviously, but it was thought on this. But basically, what is this? You know that on our code, we have our HTML and we have our CSS, right? And in a real project, like in a project outside of CodePen, this CSS is just a file. And Bootstrap, imagine that it's a huge CSS file with a lot of classes, a lot of things ready to use that you can just grab and add to your elements. And the moment you add those classes to your elements, the style that was predefined will be applied to your element. So it's plain CSS, but you don't need to actually write on your own those things. It does make creating responsive websites very easy. It's insane. The system to say, okay, I want this line to have, like in larger screens, I want to show 4 items, but in a mobile, I want to see 1 picture per row. Imagine like you have a row with 4 images. And in the desktop, it looks super nice. But if you open this in a mobile, it would be really bad user experience. So you just show 1 per row. So it's easier for you to scroll and see the content. And this is incredibly easy to do with Bootstrap. We have some main aspects. We're going to talk about the components, which are the buttons, the forms, the menus. It does help with the layout, which for me, it's one of the best things. And some utilities like adding margin and padding that we already know how to add this on plain CSS. We're going to also learn how to use with Bootstrap, which is CSS behind the scene, but easier to use. And it's possible to use both Bootstrap and CSS in the same project because, like I just said, Bootstrap is just applying CSS behind the scene, but it's doing the hard work for us. So that's kind of nice. To add Bootstrap to your project, it's really simple. Bootstrap has 2 parts, one of CSS and one that is optional. It's JavaScript. I've mentioned on the first day that JavaScript is responsible for any type of interaction that we have with our page, and Katrina just mentioned as well. So if we make things like interactive, we do things when we click, we can collapse things, we can redirect the user, we can do this with HTML, but we can move things around, make things jump on the screen, a lot of things. This is JavaScript. And there are certain things on Bootstrap, for example, collapsing a menu for smaller screens, that needs JavaScript, but you don't need to do this. You don't need to know how to do it. You just use Bootstrap and they will do this for you. So the easiest way is to go to the intro section and copy the lines of code that they show. I'm going to show this on the website because I think it's easier to understand. And again, it's a really good documentation. So this is the initial page. And then if you go to docs, you have a full list of everything. And the first session is get started with Bootstrap. And here you have the quick start. There are another ways of using it. I'm not going to cover, but you can install, you can customize, you can do a lot of other things. But let's stick to this quick start. All we need to do is to copy this link here. This and the script, which is the one from Bootstrap. I'm going to add to the project so you can also see how it is. And we paste this on our project. And from this moment on, we are able to use their classes. I'm going to start talking about the utilities, and I'm going to show you an overview of what Bootstrap is or what are the utilities so you can understand this. So here on the left, you have some more information about the content, about JavaScript, blah, 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 some more information about it. And then we have the option to customize. You don't need to worry about this right now. And then we have the layout with the content. And then we have our components, which are really nice. And then down here, we have the utilities. So all of these are utilities. For example, you can check the colors. And Bootstrap, it's a really opinionated framework, which means it comes with an opinion. When you want to use it like something, it's not, obviously it is possible to change things around, but it was not meant for this. There are many libraries and frameworks, they are what we call opinionated. When you use, they give you some structure, they give you some style, but they do make your life easier. So if you want, for example, we have some default colors on Bootstrap. So all of those colors here, like text primary, emphasis, text secondary, actually they just added more colors that I never used this one, which is nice to know. So they've been building up on top of it. And all that you need to do, for example, if you want your text to have this color, this green color, is to come here, text, success, emphasis, and add this class to your element. So this is how Bootstrap works. Before we had to add the class on the HTML element, and then we need to go to CSS and then say, what are the elements that we want to add? What are the properties and the values that we want to add for that specific element? With Bootstrap, we need to do the first step just the same. You need to come to the element and then you give it a class. The only difference is that in this case, you need to use the class name, like you need to use the name that they give you. So you have the expected result. And this is quite cool. I mean, it's really easy to use. And in their documentation, they always have something like the final result, and then the code that you need to create the final result. It's always structured like this. So you have the colors, you have the display, how it works. It does explain about the breakpoints, which are like, I'm not going to cover this for today, but the breakpoints, just so you know, it's like I have the breakpoints for, where is it here? Breakpoints. This is to determine like how responsive layout behaves. So you can have you can find explanation on this. And also in the right side of the page, you have some like the menu of the content, the current page that you are in. So if you want to read more about breakpoints, feel free to do. I'm going to explain how to use and the basics of Bootstrap. But if you want to dig deeper afterwards, feel free to do so. And understanding the breakpoints, it's the base to understand how to use this responsiveness from Bootstrap. Like I have this design for small screen and this designs for large screens, and something different for medium or the same. Going back to the utilities, here. The other thing, spacing. Spacing in the utilities, it's quite nice as well. We can use marge and padding. And instead of writing margin something, we need to, again, we just add the class with the name that they provide. So if we want to add some margin, we're going to use M, and padding, we're going to use P. Now, if we want to set all the other things like top, bottom, left, right, or something like this, we're going to use the M or P, margin or padding, depending on the spacing that we want to add, and then T for top, B for bottom, S from start for the left, and E for the end to the right. And so the result will be, for example, if I want to add some margin to the top, I would do M, T, and then the value that I want. If I want to add, you have the option to add things in the line, like the x-axis or the y-axis. So x would be adding margin or padding both to the right and the left, and y top and bottom. So you could do p, y, and then you would be setting the padding to the top and the bottom in one single command, which exists in CSS, in plain CSS. Okay, in CSS, you can also set the X and Y axis, like margin and padding as well. This is the behind the scene, like this is what they have in their own. We don't see this, but this is what happened behind the scenes. If you say MS, which means margin start or margin left, 1, this is how we need to pass the values like this. So we select where we want to add, for example, margin start, and then dash the value that we want. We can do 0, 1, 2, 3, up until 5. Here is the options. This is what they add in CSS behind the scenes, okay? This is what they add behind the scene. This is spacer, just a variable. I'm not going to cover this. This is a value that they have. You don't need to know about this right now. And this is how we add to our element, for example. Never mind the grid and the column. I'm not going to cover this today, but this would be padding 2. This is all we need to add. The padding for the four sides, 2. It's not 2 pixels, it's their calculation like they are doing here, considering this spacer variable, which I think it's 16 pixels. Doesn't really matter. This, you can just rely on your eyes and say, I like this a bit more, a bit less. And if the values that Bootstrap does provide does not satisfy you, you can just add this in CSS. So this is what happened. So for example, in Bootstrap, if you add P3, the class P3, behind the scene in the CSS, you're adding something, padding 16 pixels, something like it. It's not exactly this number. I would need to check their value. If you add text dark, you're gonna manipulate the color, the text color. So it's the same thing as adding this color here. If you add BG, which stands for background danger, you are adding a background color like this. So you just add this, and behind the scene, this CSS, it's added to you. So it does make your life a lot easier. Now, how to create an element with Bootstrap? Bootstrap has a vast collection of components that make it really, really, really easy to use when you're building a website. Here, I'm going to check the components now. I'm going to start with one of the best ones, which are the buttons. Okay. Yesterday, I did mention something about the Hoover, and I just realized that I was so excited to talk about Bootstrap that I did not review what we did yesterday, but I will do this as soon as we go back to the code. Yesterday, we discussed something called pseudo classes. I taught you how to add a different color in a link, for example, when you hover over the link. This is what we call pseudo classes. And you need to add a few things. For example, okay, I want to change the color of the button just when you're hovering over it, and so on. Now, if you want to add a button with Bootstrap, the first thing that you need to add is a class called BTN. This class is intended to be used in a conjunction with the variants of the button. Okay, the first thing that you need to do, for example, if you have a button, there is a HTML tag called button that we can use. And we just add this class BTN. And after we do add this class BTN, we say which variant do we want. I want the primary, secondary, success, which one of those? And if you take a look, the moment we add those two colors, we have the nice shape, the border is a bit rounded. We have a different color when we hover over the button. And all we need to do is add these two classes, like just like that. Super easy. And then you can select the color that you want, and then you have the result. So you already add all of those things in just by adding this tiny thing. You have the color, you have the text. For example, for the warning, the info and the light, they change the color so you can read it better. This is all taken care of for us, which for me, it's great. So we have the buttons, we have the card. We do have the example of the card here, I guess. This is the code to create a card with Bootstrap. So we have it here. I'm gonna leave it here in the slide as a reference, but I'm gonna show you on their documentation. So it's easy for you when you're browsing around and getting information. By adding a base class, do you get any results? Yes, it does change the original button. I will show you when I add the button. I'm going to add the button in our project, and I will show you the difference when you add just the button and when you add the variant. But you get a better result when you add the variant. The card component, it's beautiful. I love it. It's really easy to use. This was really common. There are a lot of websites using this kind of structure a few years ago. Now they still use, but they tailor this a bit. But even like if you open, I don't know, if you open Airbnb, you're going to see a collection of cards. Most of the card component on its own, not from Bootstrap, but this idea of cards, it's something that you see everywhere. Everything is kind of built nowadays, not everything. I'm over, this is a bit too much. But a lot of things are built with cards. And you can see like a card for the house that you're searching and then some description. This is really common to see around that. And the code to build this, you just literally need to come here, and they even have a button so you to copy. You click this button and you paste on your code and you're done. You get this result. We need to follow their rules. So we have a div with the class card, and then on the top we have an image with the card, with the class card image top, and then we can just select our source, the source of our image. And then we have another div that has a card body class. And then we have a card title, a card text, and finally we have a button. If I copy this, straight away I get this result. I copy, I paste, I get the result. And one thing that it's important for you to know is that in coding, we do a lot of copy and paste. I told you this, we do copy and paste a lot of things, and there's absolutely no problem with this. The only recommendation that I gave you is know what are you copying and where you are pasting, so you can tailor this, because not always you're going to find the example, the perfect example, the thing that you need just the way you need. You know, most of the times you're going to find something that you want to use, but you need to tailor, you need to tweak a bit so it gets the way you want. So knowing what you are copying and why, it's important, and understanding what are the things that you are copying. And when I'm copying things from Bootstrap, I tend to play around with it, like removing some of the classes and understand what happens if I remove this class, what it's going to change or something like this, so I can understand a bit better. So this is the thing. If you add this code, you end up with this result on your page. So it's really, really handy. We would need a bit of time to develop this on our own with plain CSS. The same thing for the buttons that I already mentioned. So you just add the class BTN, BTN primary, BTN, BTN secondary, and so on. And then you get these results. It's just 2 classes that you need to add. Now I'm going to show you everything in code. I think it's easier for you to understand. And then I'm going to do some review of what we had yesterday. And for this, I'm going to go back to the getting started. But before I do this, let's quickly review what we had from yesterday. This is our beautiful website. This is my hometown. We styled the navbar using some RGBA that we have in here, so we can see through. And we also added some pseudo class in the navbar, in the about me, like for the links. So every time I hover over, the color changes. And this is our navbar. For the intro section, we added some height to the image. We learned how to add background images and a few properties that we can add whenever we add some background images. I think the most important thing that we review is the CSS selector. So here I am selecting the class. So again, if I do dot and the name means find me the element that has a class with this name. And if I do the hash is the ID. So find me the element with this ID. We can also have the multiple select, the cascading selection. So I select the H1 element, for example, I go into the element that has the class intro, and from this container, I just select the H1. So the element with the class intro is the parent, and the H1 is the child. These classes are only being applied to the H1 that is a child of the element with the class intro. So here I do have an element with the class intro, and I have a H1. So this is being applied to this. We also learned how to make our image rounded, like adding some border radius. We talk a bit about the padding. the margin. We talked about Flexbox that we use for our navbar, and how to, when we use Flexbox, we create a flexible container. And obviously the syntax for CSS, and we learned how important is a semicolon. Okay, now moving on to Bootstrap. Let's get this started. To start our code, to add Bootstrap to our code, we're just gonna copy this link here. So I'm gonna copy the first one is the link tag and the script tag. Okay, these are the two that we need to copy, the link and the script. You have it here, the link and the script. And I'm gonna add at the very top, like here, the link and the script. And already it's breaking my code. I will have to fix a few things. That's okay. And this is because probably I'm sharing some classes. I will change a few names of the classes, because what happened is some of the names I have on CSS and I have on Bootstrap, and the classes on Bootstrap might be overwriting my own. So I will quickly tweak a couple of things. I'm going to call this my navbar, and I'm going to change this in the navbar as well. I'm going to call it my navbar. So it goes back. So the navbar, it's a class that Bootstrap is using. And here for this container, I'm just going to change the size. I'm going to change the height to 800 maybe. And it's already working. And maybe this didn't, that's fine. And the link looks really, really bad. So I'm gonna add this option, like my navbar and the A, so I can access, but now it's working. There you go. Sorry, I had to do some tweaks because we are having the same classes, okay? Like intro or things like this, and the navbar. But now my point is, I do have Bootstrap added to my project, and I'm going to show you how this works. For example, I'm going to add here at the very bottom, inside of the About Me section, and I'm in here in the About Me. I do have a text align center. I'm going to show you how a regular button in HTML looks like. I'm going to create a button with, I don't know, get in touch or something like this. This is what we had in the example. Button. This is the tag, and then you do angle brackets, button, close the angle brackets, get in touch. This is the regular button in HTML. This is how it looks like. I know it's awful. I know. Now, if we add a class, a Bootstrap class, I'm going to first add their suggestion. Okay, I'm going to come here and go to the buttons, the components. I'm going to go to the buttons. And I'm going to copy the primary one, okay, which is BTN primary. I mean, this. Just by adding these two things, I get this result. Just like this, just like that. I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to select this on CSS and do anything. They're taking care of making this wider, like a bit, like with some space here. Rounding the borders, like adding the change of color when I hover over. This is the result. And if I just add the BTN, this is the result that I get. It needs to refresh. This is what I get. It doesn't have the color, it doesn't have anything. It removes the ugly style from Bootstrap, from just plain HTML, but it doesn't look like, it doesn't add the round thingies and so on. It still works. You can still click and everything, and you can even add Let me see what they have here. You can add the href. You can add everything. It still works as a button. You can click. When you click, you see the outline, but you don't see like the design. So you need to combine this with the other things. So I want to add Get in Touch and want to get more info. And I think there is one that I quite like, which is the outline. So you just have the outline of the button like this. And I'm going to copy the primary one as well. So I'm going to copy this entire line. And I'm going to paste it here. And this will be more info, something like this. And there you go. And then you already have your buttons. It's easy as that. It's simple as that. You copy and paste. And then you tweak the things that you need. You don't even need to add things in CSS, but you can see I still have my other things. The rest of my section, it's being styled with CSS. So there's no problem. Well, you saw one of the problems. It's when you have the class with the same name, like the navbar, like magic. It is. And being completely honest, when I was going through the bootcamp, it's really focused on JavaScript, like Code Up Bootcamp. We focus a lot on the functionality and we learn style, but it's not the main thing because we're more focused on the functionality of the things. And when I learned Bootstrap on the bootcamp, I realized that, okay, I need to learn CSS, but I don't have any background. I don't know nothing about CSS and I'm focusing on my projects and so on, but I want to look nice. Yes, give me a second, Maria. And then what I did was using Bootstrap so I could start getting used to the syntax of CSS, because you can check the elements that it's being, you can check the properties. If you check their examples or their documentation, you can see, okay, when I add a BTN class, what does it add for me? And you can see the classes that it adds on CSS behind the scenes for you. So for me, that actually helped me learn CSS faster, because instead of learning each one of them so I could apply and crash my code and so on, I would use Bootstrap first so I could get the result that I wanted. And then I also I was taking a look on the things that it adds for us and like removing it and understanding how it looks like. So I could get used like with the things, like with the properties, with the values that I can pass. And that make it easier when I had to use plain CSS to fully understand. I already had some ground. It wasn't like from scratch anymore. Now, Maria is asking to show again the link I pasted on the HTML section. Yes, if you go here on Bootstrap, you can go to the introduction. And here, in this is create an index HTML file in your project. You don't need this because you already have your HTML on CodePen, okay? This is when the example for when you are creating your own code. Now, here you need to copy the link that you have on step number 2. You copy the link. Oh, thanks, Priscilla. You're amazing. It's in Notion page for part 3. I can go open Notion as well and take a look at this with you. I'm going to open it here in a minute. So you need to copy the link and the script. I mean, the script is optional, but I will use it today. And in CodePen, I just paste both of them. The link, it's here, and the script, it's here. Now, if we open the Notion page that you have, no? This. Come on. The challenge part 3. If you go, there you go, on step number 2, you can use this one. You can just copy from here and here. Maybe it's even easier. Thanks for sharing. And okay, now the second thing that I want to do with you, it's actually changing the navbar. I'm gonna make a nicer navbar, and Bootstrap has a lot of really nice options for this. And I want something that collapses when I move things around. You see that right now the links, they get closer and closer, but at some point it gets just weird. And it's hard to read. Imagine that I was in a really small screen, I would be like a bit weird. So I want to make this responsive and nicer. And if you go here in the Bootstrap, I'm gonna search for navbar here. Here we have the documentation, and we have some examples that we can use. By the way, you can also click in these examples here. It will open a different page. You can download the examples, you can download the source code for the examples, and you can choose what you want. Okay, you have some snippets like common patterns for building sites and apps, and you can check things for the headers, for the hero section, for the features, sidebars, and then you're gonna have loads of options. For example, I'm gonna open the hero. You can have the code for this one here, or this one. This is really common for hero section, or left align with hero with one image here. So this is structure, it's really common. So they already provide you the code for this. And if you, this is a hacky thing, okay? This is a bit extra. Maybe I'll teach this after. I will leave it open here. And at the end, I'll teach this as a bonus. Here on the sidebars, you can see all the options that you have as sidebars. So they provide you a lot of things and a lot of examples. I'm gonna use some of those. And the one that I want is the navbar. I want a navbar that can collapse when I move to a smaller screen. Maybe this one is a bit too much. I don't need the search bar. So I'm going to scroll down. There you go. You have this result. And to get this result, you just need this code. That's it. I have this, where is it? What's the difference? You have this with a drop-down link, which, by the way, you had a drop-down previously. With a UL and a LI. This is an example that you can use with a UL and a LI, which means unordered list and list, but it's styled in CSS, so it looks like this. And there is another tag that you can use as a dropdown, which is a select, that you can create this in HTML, but Bootstrap can do this for you as well. I think I'm happy with this one, and then I'm just going to change a thing or two, okay? This sounds good. I have the navbar, the home features, and I even have a link that is disabled. Sounds good to me. Or there's one with the... Let me check something. I wanted one with the brand. I don't know. I'm going to use this one here. Okay. This one here. This. I'm going to copy this. And maybe I can tweak things and add the brand separately. And I will need to comment it out, this one. So I'm going to add my comment. Wrong bracket. This one. And I'm going to close it here. So my navbar, it's gone. It's being ignored, as you can see. I'm going to leave here for like sharing purposes. When I share with you, you can see it. So this is the one that we created together. And this is the one from Bootstrap that I'm going to paste, which is basically this. I just paste and it's there. That's this is all. Thank you very much. It was a beautiful class, but literally that's it. And because we added the JavaScript link, you have this collapse. So it will do like this. For smaller screens, it will collapse this for us. And in larger screens, you can see the things here. You can see all the other names. And here you collapse again. Now, let's go over what the code is actually doing, and let's tweak a thing or two. Maybe here. We have this navbar, and then let's understand what is going on here. For the wrapper, which is the navbar, I have a cat sleeping on my keyboard. That makes it a bit harder. For the navbar, no, sorry. For the navbar, we are adding this, the navbar class, and then we have this navbar expand on LG. That means in Bootstrap that you want to expand your navbar, that you can see the names for larger screens. Whenever and they have the measure, okay, X 7,700 pixels means large screen. I copy and paste the navbar code, but shows up vertically. Take a look if it's not wrapped in a div with some class. Alexandra copy and paste the navbar code, but shows up vertically. If it's wrapped in a div with a different class, it might change the code. Or if you have it like this, is this the result that you have, Alexandra? If that's the result that you have, it's okay, because what happened is we are collapsing the navbar, and then you click the button and you show them vertically. So you see all the links in on a vertical mode, which is actually really good for smaller screens, because it's a lot easier and cleaner. So you can see, if you click the button, you can see them all. I mean, you can paste your code and we can take a look afterwards. Yes, you now have two navbars, the original and the new Bootstrap. I don't have the two because I commented one here. So you can add this comment. So you add the angle brackets, the exclamation mark dash dash, and dash dash angle bracket. So you ignore this code. If you use Bootstrap to style your code, does that mean that you wouldn't need any CSS style sheet? Well, it's possible, unless it's very common that you don't need this CSS style sheet. I mean, behind the scene, you do have a CSS style sheet being applied by Bootstrap, but you don't need to create your own. Yes, it's possible to style the entire website with just Bootstrap. Alexandra, if you want to paste the link of your CodePen, Tainá can take a look at it and then give you some comments. And maybe it's just easier for you to paste the link for the CodePen. My navbar suddenly disappeared. Your own or not, or the one from Bootstrap. If you added the comments, if you comment it out, it will disappear. Like my navbar, it's gone because I added this. Now, if I remove the comment, I will have two navbars. And I don't want this. So I'm going to keep my other one commented out. Or you can just delete if you want. I do not have any at the moment. Did you comment it out? Do you have the closing for the comment? If you were commenting out, do you have this closing tag for the comment? Make sure that you open and close just after the navbar that you want to hide. Okay, now getting back at this, and Yvette, if you still have the problem, take a look at this. You can again share the code, or you can take a look, or Tainá can take a look. The Bootstrap one got that, but then it disappeared. I don't know. We would need to take a look to debug this. Maybe Tainá can take a look after she take a look at Alexandra's code, or me once I finish this. Okay, so now taking a look at the classes that Bootstrap, thanks, Tainá. Tainá will take a look for you, Yvette. Just paste your link and she can take a look. Taking a look at this, so this is the navbar, which is the class that it went under the intro image. Make sure it's in a different div. You know, it's not inside of the intro div here. Cool. Glad that you sorted out. Now, this navbar expand LG, like I said, is telling that we are expanding our navbar on large screens, but maybe I want to just expand on medium screens already. I want to see in the medium screen I already want to see. So I could change this to MD, which is a different breakpoint from Bootstrap. And now in medium screens, I already see this. And then in smaller screens, I collapse this. And this is the background body. We have the color for the background. And if you want to, you can just remove this and then check what happens. What does it change? In this case, not much. Okay. And then we have this other class with the container fluid. This is for making sure that we're gonna use 100% of the width. Bootstrap has a class called container that wraps up your div or something in a smaller, like create like a container for your code, but that doesn't take the full width. And if you want to take the full width, you can use container fluid. Then you have the brand that can take you elsewhere. I'm gonna change this to just to the name of my city. There you go. We have like this. And then we have this button, which is a navbar toggler. This button here, we also call it the hamburger menu. And this have a function to collapse. And then this is adding target. This is all the logic to actually make it collapse and then connect with these other links here that we have. Okay, so we have this toggler icon, and then finally we have our actual navbar with this collapse class that we need, and we have this idea: navbar, nav out markup. And if you take a look here in this button, we are targeting this element, the element with this ID, because we are using the hash. So this is an ID, navbar out markup, and then you're going to see that is this one. So this button is connected to this dropdown. The other thing that we have, finally, we have the nav, which is this one, finally, that we have in here. And then we have each one of the links. And then you can choose what you have, and then we can use the same thing that we had on the previous one. We had about me, projects, contact, and CV. We have about me, projects, contact, and the disable, if you want to keep it, you cannot click. You see, this is what the disable do. The other ones you can hover over. The disable does not allow you to click. I don't really want this, so I'm going to delete this one. I think it's enough. And the second thing that we had on the previous one is that you could click on the About Me and you were going to be redirected to the About Me section. I do have the ID About Me. Taina, Yvette already debugged her code. She discovered they are really good at debugging. Like I'm impressed. They post the issue and in a second I found it. Okay, so in the previous one we had in the link, we had the link that the moment you click in the About Me, for example, you are redirected to the About Me section. We are doing this here with the href with the hash About Me, meaning when you click, please go to the element with the ID About Me. I'm just going to do the same. You see, this is just a with a href, exactly the same. So I'm just going to add the About Me in this one, and let me see if it works. And there you go. The functionality is still here. So you can have this, for example, if you create all the sections, you could add this to your navbar as well. What else? I'm going to show you really quick. It doesn't fit in this project, but I'm just going to show you the card. Okay, it has nothing to do with this project. I'm going to comment it out just so you know. But I'm going to come here to the cards, which I think it's quite nice. Thanks, Ting. It was really nice having you here. We're gonna share the recording afterwards. So here at the card, where is the card? Components. Components card like this. If you want to do this, all you need to do again, it's copy, just like that. Come here at some point. I'm gonna paste on the very bottom, just so you can see it, okay? And paste. And then for the source of the image, I'm also gonna use Pixum. So I'm just gonna copy this, just so you can see it, how it looks like this. And you have a card. And you could give some margin start, which is in the left. So it's not super attached to the left. And then I have it. Or you can have a div wrapping all this, and then you can give the margin to this div, and you could have more than one card. But this is how easy it is. Sorry, give me 1 second, because my cat really needs to go out. Sorry. Sorry. And you can put things together. You can combine Bootstrap and CSS. There's no problem at all. This is just to show you. And if you want, for example, 2 of those, I can just copy and paste. And then there it is. You have 2 of them. And it is possible to put them on the side, but then we have to go through another thing. I'm not going to cover this today, but this is how easy it is. I'm going to comment this card out because it makes no sense in my project. So I'm going to comment this one, but I'm going to leave it here as a reference for you so I can share. It's here. It's not here anymore. And the other thing that I wanted to show you on Bootstrap, and I think it's really nice, and for me, it's one of the best ways to see what they add, is if you go here, I'm here in the hero section, okay, with Bootstrap. This is their page. If you right-click, the last option will be inspect. I'm going to inspect this here. And I'm going to just select this to put on the side. It doesn't really matter. This is the inspector of your browser. And if you click this arrow here, you can come here, and this will highlight for you in this HTML tree the element that you want. So you're going to see that if I hover over those, you're going to see that this is a div that wraps everything. This is the div of the image that it's on the right. And this is the div of the image that it's on the left. And here at the bottom, maybe I can show you. This is the easiest one. I'm going to show you this so you understand. Same thing. The container, the image, the div with all the information. You can see all of it here. And if you select something, yes, this highlighting thing works on all websites, not just Bootstrap. It works for anything. If I open Notion, if I go to Elements, same thing. This is the inspector of your browser. So you can inspect the code that is there. This is really, really nice. And you can even look, it's just temporary, okay? But what if this is the H1, right? If you right click, I can say 3 days coding challenge. And then you change. Obviously, it's not permanent. The moment I refresh the page, it's gone, but you can interact with it. But my point about the CSS thing that I want to show you is that, for example, if this button here, okay, this is the div with the button. And if I open, I have the button, the primary and the secondary. I'm going to click the primary here, and it at the bottom, this is all the CSS that it's being added for us behind the scene. So this is all of the things that they added. The button on hover color, on hover background, all of it. The padding right. Okay, what if I remove this? It changes everything. And padding left. So I like to come here sometimes and then just untick the things and see what does this property do. For example, if I'm here, I have this margin, the width. If I remove the width, what does it change? And for example, text align center. If I remove this, it changes the center of all of these elements that has this class. And for me, this is one of the ways that really helped me because I can see the name. I know that Bootstrap, it's a bit different. Maybe here it will be better. This is easier for you to see because Bootstrap, they use a lot of variables for adding. So you're gonna see a lot of this --BS. So it's a bit different, but you can see here the classes that they apply. Okay, so if you want to have the same result, you can see, okay, I need a class with the call LG6, MX Auto. You can see their own classes here on HTML, which is quite nice. And you can copy the examples and you can base yourself on this as well if you want to hacky more a bit into this. And here, for example, this is another one. If I remove, for example, the maximum, but I can remove things and see what changes. Like this doesn't change anything. The font size. I remove this font size element. What does it change? I remove nothing. Margin 0 change. Like you can see what other things that it will change for you. Maybe on this other one here. This. You have more things, like you have the padding that changed just a tiny bit because it's really small, but you can increase. What happens if I increase the padding, the first one or the second one? You can play around with this, and the moment you refresh the page, everything is back to normal. You don't really change your page by doing this kind of things. And here's the same. My 3-day coding challenge will be gone the moment I refresh. It goes back to being centered hero because I'm not accessing the actual code. But that's it. This is just some tricks that can help you like understanding that code is everywhere. You can see the code in all of the pages. You can inspect, you can understand the HTML, the CSS structure. And I think it really helps if you want to become a developer or if you just want to understand how it works because you want to build your own page for something like from personal business or just to understand how things work behind the scene because we use this every day. And that was it really. I'm going to share this code with you so you have access to it. And it's open for a Q&A. Do you have any questions? Anything that you want to know? Let me send this link. Wait, I need to save. So you now have access with the latest version of the code. And I'm also going to share my LinkedIn with you. Feel free to reach out. LinkedIn. If you have any questions or anything that you would like to know. Can you show how to make the nav bar not a dropdown? Sure. Let me just give me a second. And this is my LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. And if you want to talk about transitioning to tech or doing a boot camp or anything, feel free to do so. The nav bar, if you take a look here, we have this nav bar expand MD. If you don't want to collapse at all, if you don't want the nav bar to collapse, you can add a different one, okay? How to make a nav bar, not a drop down. You have to remove this and you have to you remove the button and a few other things. But if you want to change when do you collapse, for example, in my example, I'm collapsing in the medium screen. If I want to collapse in the large screen, I just change to LG. And then this will be collapsed because this is a medium screen, like this. And then when I reach the large screen, I can have like this. And same thing. Or I can even do for small screens. I expand on small screens. And then it will be expanded until I get the extra small. And that is this one here. But I think that for my example, I want to leave it like as a medium. And this is how you select, how you change the drop down. I think that was a question, Hazel. I hope that answered. Now, Laura is asking about the final submission. Can we add more things to our page that goes beyond the homework? Yes, so this is my point. And then Taina is going to talk to you about the next steps. So the only thing that I want to say is that coding, I just gave you I gave you the tools, some initial tools, but feel free to create your own things. I mean, HTML and CSS, when you combine, you can create something like a few things. They are very unique. Let me move it. They are very unique. So you can print your own personality and you can create more things. Now you have the tools. For example, if you want to create the project sections, feel free to do so using Bootstrap. You can use the cards, for example, for the projects. Feel free to add more things. There is no problem at all. And Taina is going to give you more things more specifically in a second. There is one last question about the code. So I have some CSS for the HTML, but it doesn't seem to work in the CSS file. But if I put the code in the HTML on the style, it works. Why does it do that? Can you share the link for your code pen and we can take a look? I will take a look and then Taina, go ahead. You can say it better.
Hey, can you hear me?
Sorry. Yes, I can hear.
Okay. First of all, I was looking at the projects while you were giving the workshop, Sophia, and they are great. I really like them. I like to see the cities. It's really fun. It's really fun to know about your cities and about yourselves.
I have a list of things that are places that I want to visit with.
Right, me too.
Like the list of things. I actually do this. It's in my notes on my phone. I honestly do.
I like it. Me too. I got really, really excited to see some cities after I saw the projects. So in terms of next steps, I will repeat just a little bit what Katrina said, reiterate, but I would like to focus on the next steps from now on with your project. So as you know, we are going to vote for the top 3 projects. And if you are in the top 3, you can choose one session with the CEO, either one session with the CEO or career coach, or the lead full stack instructor, which is Germinal, that Katrina said in the beginning of the session. Now, how can you do? What is the next steps? First, you finish your project, you apply Bootstrap, and you can be creative. You can add more CSS, everything, any creativity will count in your favor for you to be selected. If you have any technical questions, just post on the channel that we can help you with. I will be there between today until Tuesday, until Sunday, and you have until Sunday evening to post your project there, okay? Between Sunday evening and Tuesday will be the votes. So you can vote to any project that you want, all right? And you vote with a heart, you react with a heart, but you cannot vote for your own project. So you post your project and you vote to other people's projects, okay? Everything will happen in the channel. Then if you don't understand, if it is not clear, don't worry, we are going to send an email explaining everything, what you need from now on. So work on your project, check your email inbox, and then follow the instructions to post your project in the channel. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. And just by posting, you're already in the core. How do I say this? You already I forgot the word.
Sorry, can you say it again? Sorry, I was writing to.
You already you already. It's for the prize.
Mm-hmm. Can you say in Portuguese? I can't.
Concorrendo. Eligible.
You're running. You're running.
Thank you. Yeah. You're already running for the prize. So the deadline to post is Sunday evening and for voting. So the deadline for posting is Sunday evening. To vote is until Tuesday, okay? Because on Tuesday, we're going to announce the winners, all right? Portuguese is best, yeah. Sometimes words just like they run from me. I cannot find them. But basically that's it. If you don't understand fully, you can either rewatch this video or just wait for the email to come to your inbox. All right. And that's it for me, Sophia.
Yeah, I have one thing to answer, but I think it's just easier I was typing, but then I realized that it's a tricky one. So I'm gonna answer about I missed what you said about where I can find instructions for uploading the final project. Where can they find instructions for uploading the final project? It's in the
It's in the Notion, yeah. So in the Notion, and you can go to challenge. You're there already, yeah. So go down.
Sorry.
Scroll down. Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I
it's
have
the
a
last-
few things to say, and don't go. I have a few more things to answer. Okay, scroll down, instructions.
Yeah.
And private.
So share with us on Slack. Can you see this? So open to discover how to share. You can
Open
click.
to discover how to share.
That's it. Okay. So part 1, 2, and 3. So the 3 challenges, they have the same instructions how to share your projects. Basically, you just need to find the URL on your web page, copy the URL, and share with us on Slack. That's it.
If you take a look here, I'm gonna save.
Yeah.
I can show. Where is it? Okay, I can show you in a second. I have a few things to say. First, answering about why does someone has Lina, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correct. I'm sorry if I'm not. She was asking me about like she have some CSS style, and she added to the CSS file and she couldn't see the result. But if she create a style tag on the HTML file, she can add the things and then it works. The thing is, you're trying to overwrite a Bootstrap class. Your Bootstrap class does not live on your CSS file. So actually, your Bootstrap class cannot read from your CSS file, and you cannot overwrite. In a real life, it's possible to download, like to import some things and create a specific file to overwrite the Bootstrap classes in a separate file. Since we don't have this here, we cannot have multiple CSS files. This will only work in the styles because the Bootstrap, it's reading the HTML file. So from that file, it will work if you want to overwrite Bootstrap classes. But other than this, it will not work. So that's the reason why you cannot overwrite Bootstrap classes on the CSS if you are on CodePen. I hope this answers your question. Will there be a special channel for the submission? No, it's the same one, but although you can say, here's my final version, you can write something like this. So we also know that you're done and you finished. So you can post something like this. Here's my final version and so on. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that thank you very much for joining. It was really nice. I hope you had fun. I did, and I actually learned a few new things, which for me is always good. I had a lot of fun being with you. I hope the most important thing, I was actually really happy when I saw you saying that code for you, it's like fun and it's challenging, but it's empowering. Because for me, I had 2 moments with code, whereas first it was like just a bit, maybe this is not for me. And then I understood what was it. And it's like, this is actually really fun. And it's not that hard once someone guide you through. And I get more and more interest every day. So I hope we could spark some interest. I'm loving seeing the projects. I think you're nailing it. You're doing an amazing job, honestly. And you have a great future if you want to become developers. And that was it. And if you have no more questions, feel free to post them.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm happy to. You're such a nice crowd. Honestly, you're too nice. We can keep in touch. I share my LinkedIn. I'm also on Slack, and I'm on the Slack channel for the CodeUp community. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to ask questions. Drop me a private message if you want to chat. And the CSS, it's a bit of a struggling, but you get used to it. And I hope it gets a bit easier, especially with Bootstrap, because for me, it was really pleasant because I could just copy and see something nice on the screen super easily. And I was like, yes, I'm so good. Even though I just copy and paste, I don't care because I know where to find this. So thanks very much. You've been really nice 3 days.
And one interesting thing about Bootstrap is that most of the websites, they use Bootstrap. So it looks very professional and people really like Bootstrap. However, it's really easy to do. So it's amazing. It's like magic. Just one thing about the project though, when you post your project, if you see other people project, please vote. It's very important to everyone to vote to each other, okay? There's no limit, just don't vote in your project. That's it for me. Thanks everyone. It was really good to see you all here.
Thanks, everyone. Do vote on the projects that you like. It's really important. And we keep in touch on Slack. Don't be a stranger. Thank you very much.